Up here in the top left side, to start things off, give it up for Alpha X's Zoun. And his opponent hanging out in the bottom side. It's easy for NC. He is Serral. Now, what I'm really excited for here is the differing styles that we see out of these guys. Serral, he is one of those players who can really go either way with how he decides to approach a PvZ game. Obviously, if he sees something like a Stargate, if he sees that his opponent is going for kind of the standard of Void Rays into Sky Toss, then he's just gonna take advantage of the fact that this is such a small map, and he's just gonna go with a big helping of Queens, and yeah, he's just gonna go for a big kill move. He's not gonna waste any time. He's not going to he's not gonna allow Zoun to get back into it by any stretch of the imagination. He's not gonna let him build up. Now, Zoun knows this. Zoun was probably literally just watching the last series between these two versus Vivid. And yeah, I don't think he's really going to allow Serral to kind of get into his comfort zone. He really does want to kind of push the issue early on and just keep the pressure up. So right now we do see kind of just taking this low ground expansion. Obviously, this is going to give him one big advantage. It's going to be the fact that he can spread that creep a lot further, a lot quicker, which is going to be pretty important because we do see, like we were kind of talking about earlier, Stargate. So now Zoun is pretty much just kind of building up this wall, gonna slowly power up here. We do have to kind of keep an eye on what his first choice of tech is gonna be coming out of here. And yeah, okay, this is about what I was expecting. Zoun has kind of it's kind of just had a good time. He's studied under Zest. You know, they played a lot in these kind of tournaments, so yeah, this is about what I was expecting. It's going to be Void Rays, so now the timer kind of starts for Serral. Once he gets a glimpse of this, he knows that he has to start pumping out the Queens. He knows he has to start kind of preparing for that next stage. I think a lair is going to be on the cards pretty soon. Roach Warren coming on down. I like this. A very fast transition from Zoun after showing that Stargate. So he's gonna have charge very, very quickly. Yeah, there we go. Adept Glaive is going to be on the way here. So Zoun really going for a ballsy transition. The Roach Warren will be done in time for this, but the question is, will he be able to reach that critical mass for the defense? It's pretty much not necessarily a Mexican standoff. It's like a Mexican standoff where everyone just starts shooting at each other. Like, there's not really too much standing off to do. Yeah, I mean, the Adepts are going to get a fancy new 6-shooter versus the acid of the Roaches, so yeah. Gonna see who gets to really blink first. Now, throughout all of this, Serral is still kind of gearing up for what he believes to be the normal kind of push versus this. He still hasn't seen any additional Void Rays on the map just yet, so he doesn't really know about any sort of transition, but now seeing these Adepts kind of tells him, hey, maybe it's not going to be that. You can see he instantly walls off with that Evo Chamber, keeps the Queens down by the third base, so overall, a solid hold so far. Oh, so close on that Oracle. Not going to be able to get it, however. Now here we go. Serral is just gonna push his way across. On the other side of the map, we do have a robo facility, but it is not pumping out any sort of immortal play. It is just getting observers. Serral is just looking to end this game right here, right now. There is a big ground army available to Zoun, however. See if this is gonna be enough. Serral up 50 army supply right now. It is do or die. Stasis Trap is not really that helpful. Only gets a couple of those lings. The Biles, though, landing on the army of Zoun. And unfortunately, Zoun just really not having everything he needs. He's getting out a Disruptor, but it is so late here. I don't know if it's going to be in time. That Void Ray does have so many Queens to contend with. The transfuses are good as well, keeping the Ravagers alive. And Serral dropping his opponent below 100 supply. He is just now starting to get on top of that middle line. One Disruptor shot goes off, only gets one Roach. And with that, I think the rest of the army is starting to go down. The wall just really is not holding on anymore. He does have a shield battery overcharge available to him, I believe, but he's just not really utilizing it. One good disruptor shot there. But yeah, everything is depowered right now. That is pretty much the bulk of Zoun's army gone, and we should be seeing the tap out here very, very soon. There you have it. Serral takes game number 1. All right, so like I was saying, just a couple different moves from Zoun, and he holds that push much simpler. The big question is he going to stick with Stargate this time, or will he kind of mix it up and maybe go for the Twilight Council first? If he wants to do the Glaives, if he wants to do some DTs, maybe. I think versus a guy who does have 200 ping, it might be a good idea to kind of tax his micro a little bit. Just kind of force him outside of his comfort zone. I think that's going to be the best way to kind of get that upper edge. Now, don't worry, guys. If one of these players does not get to if one of these players does not get to qualify today, they still have the chance for the European and the American qualifiers. And I think actually after the round of 8, they are going to be playing it on tomorrow. I have to kind of confirm that. But it's not going to be necessarily you're out for good if they lose this series. Zoun is going to drop down that Stargate. He's just going to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm going to be curious as to how heavily he is going to commit to it this time once again. I think Serral not gonna get a scout of it this time though. Remember, in the last game, he got a full scout as to what was going on. This time, however, he only sees the front base here. He sees the warp gate. He sees the additional gateway, but I don't think he's gonna get in time before that void ray finishes. So right now everything is kind of right with the world. The first void ray does pop. The oracle will come out after it. Now got to keep an eye out for that Twilight Council if he does decide to kind of go for that fast transition once again. Looks like the answer is not really right now. He is going up to a third base, however, so he is trying to stay relatively equal in terms of that economy. Back at Serral's side, he does drop the spore crawlers for the defense, gets an additional queen out, and this kind of tells you everything you need to know. He is going to be going back into the void race. So yeah, this seems to be Serral's forte. I will admit, we did see him versus Vivid actually kind of shut that down very, very quickly. And so basically right now, a couple of steps that he needs to take. He needs to just pump out a couple of additional queens. He needs to get that Roach Warren up, as well as a lair, because you do need that speed upgrade, Goliath Reconstitution, in order to get your units across the map very, very quickly before your opponent can really hit his stride. Void Ray as well, just being a little bit of a nuisance right now. Just not really happy with the amount of creep that he's seeing. So just trying to clear some of that up. Get a couple of lings, prevent them from breaking down the rock wall. That's going to be important because that just opens up a much quicker attack route to his opponent. First couple of Void Rays always to be used for a little bit of a defense here. Serral gonna be switching things up a little bit as well from the standard push timing. Instead, gonna get the Spire out very early on, prepare himself for... I want to say he's really preparing himself for the late game with this. It's gonna be a bit before he can kind of hit that critical mass of Air Zerg. And that's going to give a lot of time for Zoun to really just kind of pile in the upgrades. He's going to have Storm available. He's going to have Charge, +1 attack, Archons, and a Partridge and a Pear Tree. He's also going to have a ton of Hydralisks to contend with in the sky, so... kind of have to be careful about fighting in a choke point. Or not really a choke point, but in a open field. If he can force the Zerg player to not take a good engagement by kind of fighting in those choke points where he can storm them efficiently, he should be good. So just getting closer and closer. He has a 30 army supply lead right now. There's a ton of Banes available to him. Still, he is going up against +1 attack. He doesn't have any upgrades of his own until his missile hits just about now. Oh no, he's wasting the banelings on the rocks. A small mistake right there, but this is still a very scary moment for Zoun. The banelings gonna try and connect with the army. They actually get on top of the force fields with those sentries, and so they will go down without a hitch. A recall is forced by the couple of units that he has in the natural. Those disruptors gonna be so important for this defense. Back at home, a zealot run by is gonna get rid of the roach warren, but I don't know, Kev. I don't see any roaches right here, but a huge disruptor ball finishes this off. And now Serral does have to retreat all the way back home. Wow, what a turnaround by Zoun. So now with the wind knocked out of its sails here, Serral's still trying to show his presence out on the map as he rebuilds his drone count, going up to about 75, 76. And Zoun as well, just getting all of these little run-bys. I really like that move. Just gotta stay ahead in any sort of way. Give a look at the units lost tab here as well. Serral expending double the resource count, losing 8 queens with that push. Now, Serral is going up to Hive. He will have the ability to kind of go into a couple different ways. He could go into Swarm Host. He could go Lurkers if he so chooses. He can even go into Broodlords if he wants. But he is going to have to contend with the fact that Zoun is preparing for the Skytoss full transition. As well as the fact that we do have a couple of Archons. Ooh, if Serral catches those disruptors, that would be very nice. Zoun is moving on for disruptors, forcing Serral to stay back towards the 4th. Supplies are relatively equal, but Zoun does have the superior army size. The Hydralisks trying to go for a flank, but they actually attack before he's ready, so Zoun is able to escape the ambush that was coming his way. So that is going to give a lot of time for these first couple of carriers to get out. He does deflect the zealots though, but those are pretty expendable at this point. You don't really care about the minerals as much. It's all about these heavy gas units. And my goodness, he has a lot of them. Big disruptor shot right there. Gonna blanket this Zerg army. And unfortunately for Serral, that does mean that he can't really engage on his terms anymore. We do have him going up to a Greater Spire, so it does look like Broodlords is going to be the point, his next transition. But I think really what he needs to do right now is he needs to get some counter damage in. He needs to get on top of these bases. He's setting up, he's gearing up for it, but he's just not able to kind of find a hole in Zoun's defense right now. Disruptor shots are not going to go off. A good yoink by those Vipers going to prevent it. A parasitic bomb as well, blanketing these Void Rays. A huge hit right there, though, going to sack so many Banes. And a little bit of a counterattack as well, just gonna stop the mining on this 5th. I don't think Serral has really been comfortable enough to hold that position for a long time. Yeah, Serral just says, to heck with it, let's go to game 3. Felt that he was a little bit too far behind. Alright, just being a little bit of a nuisance is Zoun, forcing Serral to take the 3rd base so that he doesn't get delayed in his build. pretty standard stuff so far. I'm not really expecting them to reinvent the wheel in this game. I think a couple of things to note here is that I think the biggest reason why Serral didn't gain any momentum, why he wasn't able to kind of win with that push, is he gave so much time by, you know, waiting for the Hydralisk, waiting for his Spire to finish up. He just really didn't have the tools that he needed to win the fight. And so when the Disruptors started to come out and started to get their shots off, you know, he just lost all that momentum and really had to play catch up for the longest time. Joandu, though, he is going to be going for Stargate once again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And, yeah, I think this time he is just going to stick with the Sky Toss. He saw that it worked in the last game, and so I don't really expect him to be too revolutionary. Probably just going to go up to Void Ray, get that second Stargate down after the Oracle, and just kind of pump them out. There is a lot of dead airspace that you can utilize for that. Excuse me, guys, one sec. Yeah, it's gonna be Void Ray. I think Serral already knew that, but he had to send the Overlord in to check because you should never assume, because it just makes an ass out of you and me. Certainly. Just confirms the third base as well. Serral just kind of spreading that creep. There isn't really a lot of room between the bases. So it's really good to just kind of get that out nice and early. Now, yeah, there we go. Once again, the second Stargate is down. The +1 attack is on the way. And it's all going to come down to the reaction of Serral this time. I think if he just decides to go for roaches, gets the biles, gets enough queens, and just goes for a much quicker timing, he should be perfectly okay. He should be fine to push his way through. When you give enough time to Zoun, he's just going to have all the tools available to him. He's just that quick on the transition. You can already see he's going up to Twilight Council. Serral does have his units up and running here. He's got the queens coming out 2 at a time. Hurrah, hurrah. He's got his +1 attack upgrades for his ranged units. But this time, once again, he's going for the Hydralisk Den. Again, I don't really know about that. He gets his 4th base canceled here for just a second. Not the biggest, craziest deal. But look at this. We're going to have the Rove Boat facility out. He's going to start Disruptor production right after that. He's got 5 gateways, charge, +1 attack on his ground. I just don't know. So just looking for an opening anywhere he can find it. As Zoun just kind of gets ready for the calm before the storm. He is ready to go. The Oracle does take quite a bit of damage, but it will survive. So Stasis Trap is still in the cards. Void Ray count is getting nice and high. He's going up to 6. He will have his Archons available as well. Yeah, this time though, Serral is going for a much faster hive behind this, 7 minutes and 17 seconds. So I think with that, we didn't see a Spire go down. So okay, he's probably not gonna get, like a Broodlords to transition into here. But there is always the possibility of Lurkers, and as I say that, Spire gets dropped. I'm trying to take the aggressive 4th base here, but that creep is getting closer and closer to connecting. Just trying to open up a couple different attack routes here. This will allow Serral to kind of rotate in and not be as caught off by the air army. I think Serral is just getting everything that he can possible. We do see the Ultralisk then coming out. We've got Vipers out. This is a very gas expensive army, I must say, that he's kind of building up here. Even the Banes are deceptively expensive for that gas. You can kind of see he's building up a little bit of a bank of it just so that he can get a couple of Ultralisks, I guess, to buffer for this army, but Zoun really wants to stop him from breaking down these rocks. A couple of disruptors available to him as well to kind of keep this army back. Yeah, now it's a true blue Mexican standoff here. Neither side really wanting to make that first move into engaging. So just very content to kind of remain back near his bases and force Zoun to come to him. Here we go. Serral just kind of getting a couple of pokes and prods here, waiting for the Viper. A good pull here. Gonna get some of these Void Rays, but not enough DPS to actually finish them off. Will manage to get that one, though. This guy is probably counting his lucky stars. 3 health, 5 shields left. Looks like we do see a small run by here, but he's going to be a little bit harder pressed to make those work. So you got to go for these little bits of double prong. But Serral is absolutely ready for it this time. Disruptor shots not going to be able to go off on this. We'll be able to get on top of the Ultralisk with it, but that's just not enough damage. The Ultras are tearing through these Archons. The Void Rays on top are going down slowly but surely. They have so little health available to them right now. And Serral takes a 40 army supply lead. He is looking to close this game out with one big push. Alright, just kind of slowing down for a second while he does get the Broodlords in with this army. A couple of additional Lings as well, maybe some Banes. Small little run by. Gonna get rid of these Photon Cannons. At least gonna try to. That one does survive. Now Zoun has actually caught back up in terms of that army supply. He's only down about 5 or 6. So I think Serral may have given him a little bit too much time. Riddler doing what he can. This should not go down. But here we go. The Queens are joining in the fight. The Broodlords have begun their flight. And Shield Battery's trying to do what they can to keep the Photon Cannons alive, but that is just way too much damage. A very quick snipe on that first Broodlord, though. Disruptor's gonna get rid of some of these Queens, so Serral has to be very careful with how he engages this. But so far, he is able to push the army off of this base. And so the mineral line should be under threat. Small little run by is going to get deflected by the Lings in the top. Zoun being very patient before he engages in. As he knows that one wrong move will cost him the game. Is going to try and get on top here, but the transfuse is a little bit too good. Does keep the Broodlords alive for quite a bit of time. Parasitic bomb all over the Void Rays, and they will all go down. Oh my goodness, but at the end of the day, does Serral have enough to finish this push? He doesn't really have a lot of upgrades available to him. He's still on +1 attack. And Zoun is going up to a full Sky Toss after this. Biggest thing is he doesn't have Storm, so he can't really zone out this army. Better gonna go down. That base is gone. A small contingent of zealots trying to come up here to defend, but unfortunately they will be deflected back. And now it's kind of just a slow siege for Serral. He doesn't want to overextend with these broods, but I mean, this is pretty much his I want to win now push. Taking big advantage of the map as well, preventing the ground army from really getting underneath these broods. So the gold nexus will go down. Little Spore Crawlers just kind of hanging out back there. So now supply blocking Zoun, he's really got to be cautious with his next move. Going up to Tempest, which I do like. I think if he can keep those alive, he'll be fine. But you gotta be so careful because you have so many Abducts available. You have the Corruptors ready to wail away on them, and you have the Queens underneath just ready to go. So far, though, Zoun is just holding back by the shield batteries. The overcharge is just about to end. One Tempest just goes down. The Disruptor getting caught out by the Lings and the Hydras on top. This is a fantastic siege from Serral. Zoun, he's gonna start starving out of minerals here relatively soon. He's only on four patches here. This one's gonna start mining out. Those are his only 2 mining bases, really. Another good yoink. Gets rid of the Tempest. Yeah, it's kind of just this big 1-2 punch for Serral. He moves in with the Broodlords and then moves straight back in with the Bane Hydra. Get rid of that overcharged shield battery. Even going to get on top of the mineral line here. The Broods It looks like they're going home to defend against the Immortals that are making their way across the map, but Serral is maxed out once again. He's got the Infestors on the way. His +3 air upgrades are in. I don't know. Zoun, take a look at that army size. It's still even, but in terms of quality, I just think Serral has all the right tools here. Yeah, that was a nice pickoff as well. Every little bit of supply counts for Zoun. As you can see, he's kind of just... This is just a really slow build-up for him. Carriers and Tempests take forever to really get off the ground. He's not even able to use his Archons to defend against these broods and corruptors, because he has to continuously hold up here versus the run by as Serral takes the top map. If he clears up these rocks, he can take this one as well. He has full map control at this point. A bit of a slow siege here. These Infestors do have enough energy. He's researching neural parasites, so he does want to take control of these units, but it's going to be really tough to get close, and I'm kind of worried that he might be expending a lot of time doing so, which, again, just makes this army so much better for Zoun. Fighting a little bit defensively here. Here comes Serral. The storms are pretty good all over the Corruptors. Even gets on top of a lot of these Infestors. Microbial Shroud being utilized here to get rid of that Interceptor damage. That's something you don't see every day. But at the end of it, Serral is forced back. He is making 11 more Corruptors and 5 more Ultras. I don't know. Zoun is going to start to push his way forward, push a lot of this creep away. The Broodlords are in position to get rid of the Archons on the top, but yeah, here comes the Air Army to clean up house. There's not a lot for Zoun, but it's still a little bit difficult for Serral to engage into. Keep in mind, Neuroparasite is done, so he can start to take control of these units. Does he have Burrow? He does not. Recall is going to be utilized, but that's still going to cost him 2 of his own carriers. Still trying to get this gold base, just trying to get any sort of income he can. Serral just not really letting him. Serral is just going to let him chase on aboard, waste the storms on the Ultras in the front, so there's not going to be any left for the Corruptors. The Void Rays going to wail away, but there's just a little bit too much Zerg. I think Serral has done it. He will move on to the next round. Zoun is desperately trying to get out a Stalker, desperately trying to get out a anything he can. We'll be able to get rid of one of those Ultras, but yeah, he's lost the base. 8 Broodlords, 62 Lings on the way, and that is going to be it. Serral moves on, and unfortunately, Zoun is eliminated for the day.